Shabbos Chanukah is always Parshas Miketz. So tonight I understand why. That's one of the reasons. Anyway, it was just this gala tonight and the inspiration of Paro has a dream. There's Sheva Poros Tovos. So therefore I hold that you have to be metakinus as a minute kavor be'ezer Hashem.
9 days, Chanukah.
Well, you spoke 9 days. Why? You were back then, right?
Yes,
it's all recorded. Right. But Kosh came that the Yevonim were geyser. One of the things they were geyser on was on Rosh Chodesh, right? So as a countermeasure, also every Rosh Chodesh, cover Rosh Chodesh, right? But furthermore, right? The Rambam says in explaining the Nes, right? He says v'chazra al malchus Yisrael yesra masayim shana. That part of the Nes was the malchus went back to Yisrael. Now, where we find the source for Sudas Rosh Chodesh, it was a minag hamelech. We find it by Shaul HaMelech, that he used to make a Sudas Rosh Chodesh. There's a story in Navi is Yadua, that David HaMelech was afraid that, he would be assassinated there, so he made an excuse not to show up, and Shaul thought because he was Tamei Keri, but it was the Minag HaMelachim, right, to make a Sudas Rosh Chodesh. So therefore, the Rosh Chodesh, that's why, Kayadua, by Kirsh Levana, we say, David Melech Yisrael Chai V'Kayam, without getting into all the side of why the Levana is connected to the Midah of Malchus. So, of course, that's why there goes on Rosh Chodesh and Chazra Malchus Yisrael. And that's why we have to do this as an extension of Chanukah. We have to do this Be'ezer Hashem every Rosh Chodesh.
Okay.
Right.
That's coming up soon.
This is just a pre-game show.
Right. But we'll talk about the other thing that the Yevarim goes around, which is Shabbos. As we just hear that the two come out on the same day, Rosh Chodesh and Shabbos. Rosh Chodesh Tevis comes on Shabbos. To understand the Indian, that one of the things that goes on is Shabbos. It's like we said before a minute ago that the La'olam, the Parshas Miketz is always Shabbos Chanukah without fail every year. If there's two Shabbos, so it's Vayeshev Miketz. Kachu Amida. So, it's certainly very interesting to observe. Aside from the strange word, Miketz, Miketz, you could say Vayi la'achar shnasayim yamim. 2 years later, after Yosef had his encounter with the Sarah Mashkim, 2 years later, no, it was Miketz at the edge. And the Medrash Rabbah is very bothered by that. Before we get back to the Medrash Rabbah that deals with that, why Miketz? Just say la'achar shnasayim yamim. But there's something very interesting to note that Paro has two sets of dreams, like we said. The first one was the remes to tonight, right? Right, now we understand. It's amazing. Lekamidi, Delora Miza Baraisa. Everything's alluded to in the Torah. That this Suda that we're having now was alluded to already 3,000 years ago.
Wow,
right.
We only have the seventh person here.
I know.
If there had been 7 steaks, that would have been enough.
Again,
7 steaks.
Always trying to kill it. Tony, let it go. Just let it go, okay? Don't always do the math, okay?
You just make another mistake.
All right. Right, it's up, but but it's also the Sheva Shibolim, which is that's the Geppetto bread, right? Crispy on the outside, and right. So of course, we know what these things really mean, but the but it's like interesting to note, he contrasts the bad with the good, right? And it's something very interesting to note that by the good cows, like we had tonight, right? So it's a vatirena ba'achu, they graze together. It doesn't say that by the bad cows, right? And now also by the Sheva Shibolim Tovos, it says Olos Bekana Echad. They came out of the same stalk. It doesn't say that by the Shibolim Maros. So now it's an amazing thing. It's another remes to Chanukah. We think about what did it look like. 7 Shibolim coming out of the same stem. Look like a menorah. Sever shiboim olos b'kana echad. Right. Okay. So it's an amazing thing that the unity is in the good ones. Right? In the bad ones, there's no unity. Right? And it sort of gets into the inyan of Shabbos. There's a lot of strange things about Shabbos. Chazal tells us, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, "Matana tova yeshli b'beis kenazai Shabbos Shema." I have this wonderful gift. Now I'm going to give it to Am Yisrael. Right? There's a Matana tova we got from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's Saturday. Everyone is Saturday. Right? And you can make Saturday a day off like it is. Kayom Hazeh in America. It's, Saturday and Sunday, only 5 day work week. What's the Matana Tova? It's called it's like one of the days of the week. Right? Right? But it is like this, that the in understanding what the number 7 represents, you can look at 7 as like another number, that's 6 plus 1. Right? But as the Maharal tells us, as in Sfarim, if you start thinking geometrically, you see that 7 represents something else. If every unit is supposed to be another direction, so in the 3-dimensional world that we live in, how many edges are there? Each dimension has 2 edges. So length has top and bottom, width has right and left, depth has in and out. That's 6. The 6 edges of the three dimensions. Where's the 7th? Right, in the middle. All right. 7th, if it represents, it being in the middle. So here's an amazing thing, right? Like you could have a 7th unit, right? They just put it in the middle, but instead it's not really in the middle because it takes up space. So it's partially on the right side, partially on the left side, partially on top, partially on bottom, partially in, partially out, right? And then there's like the real middle. The real middle, like Nekudas HaMerkaz. Where's that? It doesn't exist in physical reality. Because if it takes up any space, so I'll be able to divide it between, the different dimensions that it takes up. All right, the mamish, the real emesis center, true center, doesn't exist in physical reality. Because you tell me it's here, so I could divide that space into 2. And I say, well, it's here. And I could divide it 2. It goes beli sof. Right? The Nekuda and Tzais is just something that's, it's something more ruchni. It's a concept. It's a concept more than it's something gashmi. There are 7 days to the week. There are 7 kochos hateva. There are. Right? There's all these things that of 7 that Kayadua, what the Maharal says, 7 is teva. There are 7 units. Each one takes up space. Right? Each one has its turf. Right? But where's the center? The center is hiding within the 7th, but it's hiding there. And the 7th that takes up space, so in there is the center, but no, it is not possible in physicality to be omed on the Nekuda Samerkaz, to be omed on the Nekuda of, which is exactly center. Right? You might be able to have the center in a negative way, but not in a positive way. Like what's the negative way? Negative way is that the center is where everything ends. Center is not right, not left, not up, not down, not in, not out, right? It's where everything ends. But that's in a negative way. It's where the point where everything ends. Right? But the idea that it's a unifying point that doesn't exist in physical reality. That's already a ruchni concept. Right? To say that when Rameir Shapira came to America on a fundraising campaign. Right? So when he came back to Europe, they asked him, "What'd you see in America?" He said, "I'll tell you, we used to have divrei Torah in America we don't have in Europe." Unbelievable stuff, they say. It's like, I learned from them, things that we don't have, that we don't know in Europe. So what divrei Torah there in America? America was then the Treifa Medina. Says, Kayadua, when we talk, the 3 tefillos of Shabbos. Leil Shabbos, we say, V'inu chuva. Right? Shabbos by day, we say V'inu chuvo. And Shabbos Shalosh Shudas, Mincha time, we say V'inu chuvam. So here in Europe, we say, Pi Kabbalah and Chassidus and Das and Maisim. In America, they were Megal, the Pasha Pshat. Right? It's Friday night. It's Friday afternoon. Right? It's getting late. Right? Right? So the woman, she goes home to light candles. The husband stays in the store. Says V'yenuchuva, because she's resting, because he's working. Right? Shabbos morning, right? She wakes him up. She makes him go to shul, and she opens up the shop. Right? V'yenuchuva, he's resting. She's working. Right? But right?
Yeah.
Right? But Saturday night, stores close early, so she closes the shop, and they have shal shittas together, right? Right, but what's pshat that really the way they said it in Europe, al pi Hasidus and Kabbalah and Das, right? What's bo bum, right? That the pshat is that if you're zocher to Shabbos, which is the real nekuda emtsois, which, like I said, doesn't exist in physical reality, right? It's not something that you could be omed on physically, because any nekuda will take up space, any physical nekuda. If you omed on the real center, that's where everything meets and gets together. So it's called that the center is being makabel from all the different directions. That's v'yanuchuva. And that's what we say Leil Shabbos. That's tachlis maaseh shamayim v'aretz. Everything you did, everything the Rebbe Shalom did in creating heaven and earth, it all ends at this point, right? It converges on this point. This point's makabel from all, from everything that was done, right? This is what's called culmination. Things amount to something, and this is an amazing nekuda, right? That when things add up, right? The metzius of adding up is not another thing. It's just like something spiritual that causes a bond between all. It's not another unit. It's like a sign that causes a bond between all the units. That the thing that things add up. This is the nekuda of achdus that we're talking about. Achdus is not all the parts plus one. If you weigh it on a scale when things are boxes or things are papirud, then you have a brick. You put it on a scale. Then you pulverize the brick. If you get every grain of sand on the scale, weigh the same thing. Right? That the achdus is like something spiritual that pulls things together in a unified purpose. And that's Leil Shabbos. Leil Shabbos, Friday night, Leil Shabbos by night, pulls the whole week, all the efforts that we did get pulled together, right? In one achdus, right? Everything's adding up. Otherwise, everything's separate. Now everything's adding up. Right? And that's the gift of Shabbos. If there's any unity in Ma'aser Bereishis that's made up of separate koiches, that each one pulls in its own direction, Shabbos is that unifying center. Everything's going to go l'shem shamayim. It's going to go for focus at the nekuda called Shabbos. And that's why we say in the feel of Leil Shabbos, Ata kidashes yom hashvila shmecha, tachlis maaseh shamayim v'aretz. It's the unifying goal of all maaseh shamayim v'aretz. Shamayim v'aretz will each pull in their own direction. Gashmis and Ruchnis, it's tachlis, maaseh shamayim, the unifying purpose. And that's Soida Achdus. If there's any Achdus in the Bria, the Bria pulls, that's the gift of Shabbos. Because every koch should naturally pull in its own direction. Right? And Shabbos is this unifying, the koch of pulling things together. Everything should be focused together at Shabbos. And that's the sort of the Achdus that we find in the Tov. And that's what it says in Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbos. Yispardu Kol Poli Aved. There's period between all evildoers. Right? Because only in Tov there's the Achdus. So that's what's reflected by Paro's dream. Right? Everything pulls together. And by the way, this is the side, right, of what we find in the Torah. Interesting things. By the number 50 and by the number 40. Right? By the number 50, then Sri Summer is 50 days. Tispro Chamishon. We only count 49. Right? And by the 40, right? Before you find an interesting thing, right? It says, the pasuk says, Arba'im Yakenu. But only 39 lashes. Right? Right? Only 39. And the same thing, by Melachas of Shabbos. There's Lamates Melachas. But the way the Mishnah expresses, Arba'im Chaser Achas. There are Arba'im Chaser Achas. Right? The idea of 40 and 50, without getting into the differences between them, the different bechinos there are, but the idea between these two numbers is the idea of shleimus. Shleimus is not the thing plus one. Shlemus is that, something ruchni that pulls all the pieces together, right? By the Lamites Malachas, Lamites Malchus. So even though it says Arbim Yakeno, so the Maral says this. The 40th is that the guy is now clean from sin. That's the 40th. Because that's in halacha. Kevin shalok hareu kachicha. He becomes kashalatus again. He's like your brother, the chol davar. That's the 40th. The 40th is not one more lash. The 40th is the shleimus that now he's now clean and he's become a tzaddik again. He's now chozul kashruso. Gabi all the halachas in the Torah. The same thing. Right? The lamet tes malachas. Right. So lamet tes malachas what Hakadosh did to be bori shemaim varts. But the 40th is that putting it all. That all these different Maaseh Shemaim Varts add up to one unified thing. That's the 40th. That's why Lamata is Arboim Chosrachas, because these are everything that Hakadosh did in Maaseh Shemaim Varts. Comes Shabbos, and unifies it all. That's what the Chazal say. Rashi brings it, right? That Vayichal Bayom Hashvi, God finished on the seventh day. What do you mean? It was Chal Shabbos, No, Ba Shabbos, that Ba Shabbos Ba Menucha. It's what the world was missing. That the world finds its resting place. The world finds its Nakuda of Tachlis, right? The point where it belongs. That's Tachlis Maaseh Shemaim Ba'aretz, right? And that also means that there's Tal Tchia, right? Out here, right?
Wow.
Right?
Tal together.
Tal Tchia. The 40th is that the guy comes back to life. That's the 40th. That's the 40th. That now he's chai. You add 39 to 40th that the guy's alive again. Right? And that's the same thing also. Tisbru Chamishim Yom. Shavuos is not just one more day. Shavuos, the 50th day. Shavuos is not just one more day. It's what all the 49 days were for. It's the shleimus. So it's not just 49 plus 1, not 50. You can't really count it because it's koilel. It's the unifying of all the 49. So it can't be counted onto its own. Right? It's not plus 1. It's the achdus that permeates everything. And that's what in the Toiv, there's this achdus. And that's the koch of Shabbos. And that's what it means. Matana Tov Yeshi Beis Genazai v'Shabbos Shema. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave this only to Am Yisrael. That this, the Bria has a residual benefit from this. But the koch of achdus is only by Am Yisrael. That all the kochos that there are in the Bria are for Am Yisrael. And they find their achdus through Am Yisrael. Everything finds its purpose through Am Yisrael. Everything is united with Malchus Shemaim, finds its place Malchus Shemaim through how it filters through Am Yisrael. And that's what it means that that's basically Shabbos Shema. I'm giving it only to Am Yisrael who I love. That Am Yisrael has the Nakuda of achdus that pulls together. That's the sort Am Yisrael is called Goy Echad Baretz, the nation of achdus. Not just it's like many nations in the world. Goy Echad Baretz, we're the one that pull it all together, bring achdus to the whole bria. Right? But once you have that center, right, you could start importing. Because the center, if you have the gift of the center in your hand, right, which is the Nakud of achdus. So it's not just the achdus between the three dimensions that we know. It's the achdus between all dimensions. All dimensions meet at the center. The three that we're aware of and the ones that we're not aware of. And you could start importing from higher dimensions. It's our dimension. It's a portal because where all dimensions meet. And that's the meaning of Shabbos in the morning that we talk about Matan Torah. Yismach Moshe Matan Aschelko, right? Ushnei Luchosvein Hori brother. Right, and the Kuliyam, the Gemara says, the Kuliyam b'Shabbos in the Torah Yisrael. Everyone agrees that, even though it's Machal Rabbi Yosef Bar, what was the date of Matan Torah? Everyone agrees the day was Shabbos. Right? Because on Shabbos, where we have the Nakuda of Nakuda Sa'emtza that unites between all the dimensions, we could bring that, if you have that in your hand, you have that power, you could import from higher dimensions to lower dimensions. You have the portal where all dimensions meet, so you could bring Torah that's from Shamayim into Oretz. Because you have the Nakuda of Emtza that unites all the different dimensions together, right? But then there's a further level. When it comes Shabbos Mincha, that Ata Echad v'Shimcha Echad Mikam Chayzogai V'Aretz, that you're talking about uniting all the Shabbosos that there ever were in history. Right? That should be that the Shabbos last week is in the past. Now I just have the Shabbos of present, and that's going to be in the past, and I've lost it. No, you have to pull together the past, present, and future because, as the Ramchal says in Das Tvunas, between all the Shabbosos that there are, that happen in course of history, they all add up to infuse the world with enough spiritual energy to become that Yom Shekulo Shabbos, to become Olam Haba. But you have to have the unifying factor that the Shabbos of the past adds up with the Shabbos of the present, which is going to add up to the Shabbos of the future, and that's V'yinuchuvam. Right? V'yinuchuvam. All the Shabbos together. That's another koach of the center, to unite not just all the dimensions, but also unite all of time, past, present, and future. Right? And none of this is physical. None of this is physical. Right? This is all spiritual. Like I said, even physical reality does not, the Nakuda Emtsois is not something that's possibly omiran. Right? The only way that the secular world has a concept of center is just in the negative. It's where it all ends. Because it's not right, it's not left, it's not up, it's not down. End of the world. Right? Davar HaMelech says, L'chol tichla ra'isi kates. Everything that people hope for, everything that people work for has its edge. Rechava mitzvah. Torah is just ongoing. Just Torah is rechava mitzvah mode. Your mitzvahs are very wide. Right? Torah has no end. Right? Everything else has its end. Everything is as good as it's whatever it's good for, and then whenever its use runs out, it runs out. Every chokhmah has its beginning and has its end. Chol tichla ra'isi kates. Rechava mitzvah chamod. The mitzvahs are very wide. We have the idea of the center and the positive. Not just where Gashmias ends, but we're able to import from Ruchnias, right? Reach Ruchnias, and then unite the Ruchnias with the Gashmias. Everything that we explained, right? Vayim Miketz shnasayim chol tichla ra'isi kates. Vayim Miketz shnasayim yomim. So says the Medrash Rabbah on that passage. We said the Medrash Rabbah was bothered by the term kates to say la'achar shnasayim yomim, right? No, so the Medrash Rabbah says two pshatim on that. The kates, it shtells through the pasuk from Tub. Kates some l'choshech. The choshech has an edge. So it says two pshat. First of all, it's germane to our parsha, that there was an edge, how long you could keep Yosef HaTzadik down. There was like an edge. Yosef HaTzadik, Kayadua, represents Ner Chanukah, as per the Remez and Rashi in last week's parsha. The spark that goes out, so the Mishnah Baba Kama says that's the Ner Chanukah, right? Kayadua, Yadua de Remez. Right? There's an edge. How long you keep Yosef HaTzadik down? Like there's once he passed over the edge of 2 years, he's outed. There's an edge. You can only keep Yosef HaTzadik down for so long, right? And then there's another pshat, right? That it's called about closely that the Hakadosh will put a case to how long the evil will reign in the world, how long there will be choshech in the world. 6,000 years. Lashon mentioned this week's parsha. Up to 6,000 years. Then after 6,000 years, evil just can't exist anymore. It only exists within that box. You reach the edge where it just doesn't exist, past that edge. Right? And that's what this week's parsha represents. You reach the edge where the goyim just fall off because they only exist within that box. You reach that edge, only one nation is left. You reach that edge, which is the beside the Nakuda Emtsois, because all dimensions end, their kates, is at the Nakuda of center. Am Yisrael has the center. We're the one nation that exists over the edge. We live over the edge, right? We're going to live after Kates Hayamim. All the goyim are going to expire by Kates Hayamim. We're the one nation that makes it over the edge, meaning we're in the center. We have the center. They end at the center. We're in the center. So that Kates Sam Lachoshech stems so nicely, and we can understand now why Parshas Miketz is always Shabbos Chanukah, because the Medrash Rabbah says, right on the pasuk. Tov v'choshech al pnei tom rokim v'choshech zu yavan. Tarshin's tov on Bavel vo on Madai choshech on yavan. V'choshech zu yavan, that they darkened our eyes with their xeris. Right. So this pasuk that the Medrash Rabbah in our parsha brings, kates some lachoshech. The choshech has its edge. All the Evanim, what they call their enlightened way, we call that darkness. That's not called to be enlightened at all. But even there, right? We call it choshech. They're enlightened. We call it choshech, right? Chazal knew exactly what they're talking about. Choshech zu yavan. What they call enlightened, this and this and this and this and this, all liberals, right? Mary Koresu, right? Right? What they call enlightened, we call darkness. But even that darkness that unfortunately has, the media is on their side, right? And everyone, it seems the whole what's called in the civilized world has gone with these enlightened ideas. Kates some lachoshech. There's an edge to that. It all ends somewhere. It doesn't go on forever. It all has its edge. They don't know what it means, So the fact that it's going to end somewhere, right? It has its edge, right? But it also means it has no achdus, right? And that's why the Greeks believed in many gods. Maybe one first cause, but then branched out to many gods, right? Because they don't see the achdus between all the different kochos that there are. So there's Zeus for this one and this for that one, right? That's what probably they don't see the achdus, because only us, the nation that has Shabbos, sees the achdus. There's a bria, and all could come from one God. It's all for one unified, comes from one God, and it's all for one unified purpose. They don't see that. But also they see that there's their demise, that everything they do with their sciences or their sports, it's all true up to a certain edge. It's all important, as it were, only up to a certain edge. And that's what they can't take about Am Yisrael. Am Yisrael says they live over that edge. And that's Shabbos. Shabbos is the Nakuda of center that's over the edge of each dimension, because center is not on any side. Right? Am Yisrael has as well the Nakuda Merkazis, right? The Nakuda of center. Right? And that's what they legislate against Shabbos. Right? And you can't take it there. Am Yisrael says we live over the edge. Right? And the Gili of Chanukah, the Nitzachon of Chanukah, is that there is something over the edge, something that gets past where they are. Right? And that's always in Parshas Miketz. Ketz Sam Lachoshech. Yosef Atzar gets out of jail. Am Yisrael makes a comeback. There's a lot of Ramazis whose Parsha that, Nitzah Ben Ruach HaKodesh appears more than once. The spark of Ruach HaKodesh when they said this, when they said that, as you see in Rashi, Ruach HaKodesh is making a comeback, even though Ruach HaKodesh, ceased when they sold Yosef. It's making a comeback, right? Am Yisrael, you can only keep Am Yisrael down so long, and then they make a comeback. And by them, it's just the opposite. They can only be matzliach so long until they come to their edge. So the edge is like, for them, double edge, as I say, double-edged sword, right? Right. No, you can only keep Am Yisrael down for a certain amount, and then till that edge, and then we make a comeback. You only keep us down so long. For them, it's hafuch. They can only be matzliach so long until they come to their edge, right? Right, and then Am Yisrael, and that's what Paro dreams. That in the good, which is Am Yisrael, there's achdus. They have the side of Nekuda and Tzais, which is Merumas in the menorah at 7 branches, but it's all miksha achas, one solid piece of gold. The Nekuda of achdus, right? The core power of unity that courses through the bria, which is something divine. It's not something physical, right? That's by Am Yisrael. That's by the Tov, right? And by Chanukah. That regenerates. And that's one of the many answers to the Beis Yosef's kasha, right? One day wasn't a nace, right? One day was a nace. That one day that wasn't a nace, is Meramez on the achdus, right, that there is. That one day, one, is Meramez on the Nakud of achdus, that even all the different kochs of nace, all come from one source and all pointing in one direction. That Hashem echad, Ushmo echad, Umi ka'amcha Yisrael, Goy echad ba'aretz, like we say at the combination of Shabbos.
Oh yeah.
Zak Baruch. So be'emes the 8th